3 incidents, 3 NTSB prelim reports, a crash in Alaska takes 10 lives, a midair over Arizona takes 2, and a possible reason the small jet didn't see the 737 landing at Chicago Midway, all in this episode of Taking Off. Hi, I'm Dan Milliken, and we've got 3 new NTSB prelim reports. We'll cover the Cessna Caravan 208B crash off of Nome, Alaska, with new info on the weight and the tragic midair between 2 small planes north of Tucson, with the NTSB reporting on new audio. And then we'll end up with what might have caused the crew of the Challenger to not spot the landing Southwest Airlines 737 at Midway in Chicago. NTSB prelim reports reveal there is audio recorded of the fatal midair in Arizona between 2 small planes. On February 19, 2025 at 8:28 a.m. local at the Marana Regional Airport, a Lancer 360 Mark II November 3602 Mike was destroyed, and a Cessna 172 November 463 Echo Romeo sustained minor damage when they were involved in a midair collision. The pilot and passenger in the Lancer were killed, and the student pilot and the instructor in the Cessna were not injured. For those not aware, the Lancer 360 is a 2-seat, sleek kit airplane made with a low wing and a composite body. It's a fast airplane. And what happened on that morning? The Cessna took off from Chandler Municipal Airport on a cross-country instruction flight and flew towards Tucson and the Marana Regional Airport. Previous initial reports did not have any radio recordings because it's an uncontrolled field, no tower. But the NTSB has released what was said in the 4 minutes leading up to the deadly collision. Initially, the Cessna arrived into the pattern into a left downwind for runway 12. The Lancer arrived wider and did a 360 turn for spacing before entering the downwind for 12. The Cessna performed a touch and go, and spacing was good. But the Lancer was catching up, especially on the touch and go. By the time the Cessna was turning crosswind and back in the downwind second time, the instructor announced over the common traffic advisory frequency for the airport that they were going to do a stop and go on the runway. She reported they were going to practice short field landing and a short field takeoff. And here's the last 3.5 minutes of radio transcripts. At 8:25 and 14 seconds, the student pilot announces intentions to perform stop and go. At 8:25 and 41 seconds, the Lancer asked, "Traffic on base, are you a touch and go?" The instructor replied, "We are a stop and go." At 8:26 and 5 seconds, the Lancer advised they were turning left base. And shortly after that, the student pilot announced on final for a stop and go on 12. At 8:27:51 seconds, the Lancer announced a 1-mile final. 27 seconds later, they announced going around again. 8:28 and 41 seconds, the student pilot announced they were in the upwind, followed by the instructor keying up the mic to ask, "Lancer 02 Mike," and an audible gasp. 10 seconds later, the Cessna declared an emergency and returned and landed at the airport. The Lancer crashed in the airport and had extensive fire damage. The Cessna sustained minor damage to the propeller. The NTSB report also includes composite security camera footage of the collision. My takeaway here is to not get in a hurry, to keep my head on a swivel when flying, to make sure to communicate and to listen to the communications to paint a good situational awareness picture in my head. Before we get into what might have caused the Challenger at Midway to not see the 737, let's turn to the sad case of the Cessna 208B operated as Bering Flight 445 near Nome, Alaska. This was a small chartered flight with 1 pilot, 9 passengers. The Bering Air 208 started from Nome, went to St. Michael Airport, and then to Unalakleet Airport, and then scheduled to return to Nome. The pilot departed Unalakleet at 2:37 p.m. local and went west over the Norton Sound toward Nome, estimated to arrive at 3:35 p.m. The flight leveled off at 8,000 feet, and then they were told to descend to 6,000 feet. About 25 minutes before arrival, the Nome Airport closed its runway for de-icing. ATC advised the pilot of the temporary closure. De-icing was estimated to be about 10 to 15 minutes. The controller told the pilot if he wanted to slow down a little, it would be fine. The plane's airspeed slowed from 150 knots to 110 to 120 knots. And then at 3:16, the controller told the pilot to descend and maintain 4,000 feet. Plane's airspeed was 112 knots and gradually decreasing. At 3:19, the autopilot disengaged and the airplane was at 99 knots. 19 seconds later, the airspeed was 70 knots and altitude was 3,100 feet. And during that time, the airplane veered from a westerly course to a southerly course. The controller tried to contact the pilot but was not successful. The wreckage was found with no survivors on an ice floe. The NTSB then talks about the aircraft and the systems. It was manufactured in 2020. It had a TKS system for ice protection and is fluid-based with a tank sending fluid to the panels, the propeller, the windshield to prevent the accumulation of airframe ice. The airplane is supposed to maintain a minimum speed of 95 knots for operation in ice with a fully functioning TKS system. And maximum allowable takeoff gross weight with flight into known icing is 8,807 pounds. It's unclear how much TKS fluid was in the plane. Based on the initial investigation, post-accident examination shows at departure, the plane weighed 9,865 pounds, or 1,058 pounds overweight. The NTSB prelim mentions engineers will determine the airplane's center of gravity. Planes can fly overweight, but flying out of center of gravity can have a more dramatic effect. And when you add icing to the airframe, you're in a test flight situation. You just don't know how the plane will fly. My own Cessna is capable of flying into known ice, and the few times I've flown into icing, the seconds seem like hours, and I hear the words of my DPE friend Joe Casey that with airframe icing, who knows how it will fly? You've become a test pilot.
The idea behind it is you don't know how much icing is accruing on the wing. You don't know the shape that the wing now has, because if you get a lot of ice, it literally changes the shape of the wing and causes the wing to stall at a different angle of attack. What angle of attack? I don't know, because you have icing. The point is you don't hang out in icing. We should never hang out in icing. If you're flying in icing, you're using your ice equipment to get out of that icing.
All right, that's my takeaway on that one. Let's move now to the dramatic runway incursion at Chicago Midway's airport. The NTSB has released their prelim report when the Bombardier Challenger 350, November 560 Foxtrot X-ray, crossed the active runway that a Southwest Airlines 737-800 was about to land on. We've all seen the footage, and here's what's in the NTSB report. First, let's talk about the Southwest flight. The captain was the pilot flying, and the first officer was the pilot monitoring. They were cleared to land runway 31 center. The autopilot remained engaged until 500 feet AGL, and both the captain and the first officer noted the general aviation aircraft taxiing and assumed it would hold short of runway 31 center. The FO reports that after hearing the audible 100-foot call, he realized the GA aircraft was not stopping. He called for a go-around, and the captain executed it. Standard go-around procedures were executed, and the maneuver was performed smoothly and without incident. Now, for the Challenger. The crew reported they did standard pre-flight, embarked a passenger, started their engines, and completed all the checklists. They called Midway Ground Control to ask for taxi instructions from the signature ramp at Whiskey. However, the crew reports the response made no sense to them. They were initially given a clearance to taxi to runway 22 left via Foxtrot to hold short of 4 left. After asking for clarification, they were given a new route of taxiway Alpha to taxiway Foxtrot with a hold short of runway 4 left, 22 right. And when they were on taxiway Foxtrot, ground instructed them to turn left onto runway 4 left, cross runway 31 left, and hold short runway 31 center. Initially, the flight crew read back these instructions incorrectly. However, ground repeated and read back what was correct. And here's that whole audio.
FlexJet 560 signature with Tango taxi.
FlexJet 560, runway, actually departure frequency is 119.35. Runway 22 left. What taxi are you coming out of?
We're over at Whiskey, FlexJet 560.
FlexJet 560, roger taxi via Foxtrot and hold short of runway 22 right. Plan for runway 22 left.
All right, plan for 22 left, Foxtrot Whiskey, Flexjet 560. And ground, Flexjet 560, just want to confirm our taxi instructions for 22 left from Signature.
Yeah, where on the ramp are you, sir?
We're at Signature Aviation at Alpha taxi.
Okay, taxi Alpha, Foxtrot, hold short of 22 right.
Alpha Fox, hold short, 22 right, Flexjet 560.
Flexjet 560, turn left on runway 4 left, cross runway 31 left, and hold short of runway 31 center.
Right, left on 4 left, cross 22 or 13 center, Flexjet 560.
Flexjet 560 negative, cross runway 31 left, hold short runway 31 center.
Cross 31 left, hold short 31 center, Flexjet 560.
The flight crew of the Challenger indicated that as they turned left onto runway 4 left, 22 right, the sun was impeding visibility from the right side of the aircraft, and they did not recall seeing any hold short line or pavement markings or any other signs for the 31 left intersection as they taxied onto runway 4 left, 22 right. The captain stated as he approached runway 13 center, 31 center, he thought it was 13 right or 31 left. Both crews stated they looked left and right and did not observe the Southwest airline on final. After the go-round and the incident, and they were directed past the runway, the captain called the number for the possible pilot deviation. He also called their Flexjet operator, and they assessed their well-being for continuing the flight, and subsequently they departed 25 minutes after the incursion. I know I would have been rattled. It was a good call to assess. The cockpit voice recorders for both planes were later pulled, but by then they had been overwritten. The NTSB report includes photos with the hold short markings for runway 1331 center. The sun at the time of the event was 22.4 degrees above the horizon and on an azimuth of 126 degrees. The Challenger was facing a heading of 040, so that did put the sun on their right about 80 degrees, which could impact visibility of the 737 about to land, but the hold short and runway signage would have been clear. In other words, should not have mattered if the Challenger crew lost the 737 in the sun. The runway signage and the hold short lines were clearly visible. And if the sun is making it impossible to clear right, maybe the best course of action would be to stop and make sure. It's been said, but worth saying again, kudos to that crew on the Southwest 737. That was a great heads-up play. And it's nice to end on a good one. My takeaway on this event at the Midway Airport is to remember that I'm a bonehead decision away from something horrible. So it's important to stay disciplined, to not get complacent. Whether high stakes or low stakes, I need to treat each situation with the utmost pilot professionalism. All right, thanks for watching, and thanks to our sponsors like Z-Vision, the brightest landing and taxi lights out there. Check out my Cessna 210 with them on the wings. Lights up the world, xevision.com. And 67 Designs, they're incredible mounts for your cameras, your phones, your tablets, for your vehicle, your boat, or your plane, 67d.com. Them and our other sponsors are in the links below. And if you found this report useful, check out this report we did recently. And by the way, thanks to all the well wishes, I'm finally on the other side of this COVID. Thanks for watching, and remember, superior judgment trumps superior skill. Take care.